It's now more than 2 years since Boris Johnson ordered an independent public inquiry into the COVID pandemic, which at the time was seen as a risky move for him because it would expose highly controversial decisions made by his Downing Street operation to the sort of forensic scrutiny that no Prime Minister relishes. But then came Partygate and Johnson's downfall, and instead the COVID inquiry has become a nightmare for the current incumbent of number 10, Rishi Sunak. Baffling as it might seem, the Conservative government is in the middle of an almighty row with the inquiry that it set up over what it should and should not hand over to its chairman, Baroness Hallett.
A divided party this morning, Penny?
The Cabinet Office, which is the government department responsible for supporting the Prime Minister, is refusing to hand over unredacted WhatsApp messages and other documents sent between ministers and officials during the pandemic to Baroness Hallett because it says they contain unrelated, irrelevant and sometimes personal information that it doesn't believe the public has a right to see. Baroness Hallett, who, let's not forget, was chosen by Boris Johnson to run the inquiry, is threatening the government with legal action, including a possible judicial review, if it doesn't hand over the material in full. She argues that the messages will form a key part of the evidence she has been appointed to examine, and it should be up to the inquiry to decide what should and should not be redacted. Rather unhelpfully for Rishi Sunak and the Cabinet Office, Mr Johnson has massively undermined their argument by making it known that he is happy for all of his WhatsApp messages and diaries to be given to the inquiry unredacted. He has handed over all of the materials in his possession to the Cabinet Office, putting the ball squarely in their court. It's left the Cabinet Office and Rishi Sunak in a bind, because the man who they had said they were trying to protect, Boris Johnson, has made it clear he doesn't need to be protected. So Mr Sunak now has to decide whether to cave in now to the inquiry, which will surely want all of his WhatsApps too, or risk a politically costly fight with Baroness Hallett, which he might end up losing anyway. The whole thing has become a massive distraction for Mr Sunak, who, you might not have realised, has flown to Moldova for a rare and hugely important summit of European leaders to discuss the situation just over the border in Ukraine. He's also finalising deals with Bulgaria and Moldova to tackle illegal migration, though any attempt to trumpet them is likely to be drowned out by the noise around the COVID inquiry. Ministers and officials may well have been spooked by the Telegraph's lockdown files when the former Health Secretary Matt Hancock's WhatsApp messages were exposed to public view, though it must be said that the Telegraph went to great lengths to avoid publishing private information during that investigation. The inquiry itself is due to start hearing evidence on June the 13th and will deal with the pandemic by subject areas such as lockdowns, care homes, the NHS and PPE procurement, with the last witnesses expected to be heard in 2026.